But this show is about you, and you're interviewing me, so I don't know how you keep turning this around. So in 99 and 2000, you found out that you were non-productive.
Well, honestly, like I was hired by a dealer group here in Sarasota to answer the phones and file, right? And we found out pretty quickly that I was capable of much more. And I started, so that was in 1998, and I started, doing benefits. Like I started taking over all of the transactional HR stuff. And then there came a day where all of a sudden something came in the mail, and it was a wage and hour. It was the Department of Labor. It was a wage and hour lawsuit. And that's when I learned, like, okay, I can't create profits, but I can protect them through knowledge and understanding, right? Because there was no bad intent on the side of the dealer. I mean, it's a long story, but it was basically somebody was promoted on a temporary basis while a salaried employee was having her preemie baby, right? So a formerly hourly employee was then put into that role temporarily, given the same salary. She stopped punching in and out, and then she left. Like, I don't remember any hullabaloo or anything of when she left, but and then the next thing we know, here comes this, and it was overtime, and she won. And she was right, but she was only right because of lack of knowledge, right? Like, I hadn't started learning yet. They thought they were doing the right thing, the next right thing.
So what would you have done different? Would have been a pay plan adjustment or a
we would have because I now understand wage and hour laws and what qualifies for exempt and not exempt. And it's not that you give somebody a salary. That's a very common misconception that, like, okay, well, I'm giving you a salary, so I don't have to pay you overtime. It's about the work that you do, and there are other things. Like, so for this one, this particular employee did not have the ability to hire, fire, or discipline employees, right? So there you go. Like, that was it.
Did you ever try selling cars?
No, I've been told that I probably should.
You definitely could. But that flies in the face of that you couldn't generate profits.
Well,
I
that's
think
true.
you could.
I mean, in the role where I was, right, doing HR, I realized that human resources was not a profit center, right? It's not I can't turn it into a profit center. But what I realized then is that, like, okay, because I thought it was, I mean, I wasn't making very much back then, but it was more than I was making a year, right? This loss. And I was horrified. I just remember, like, oh my God, that's never going to happen again for this little stupid piece of knowledge that we didn't have, right? So that's when I went back to school, blah, 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 blah. So, and now my thing is really, like, profit protection, because I have this belief that, and maybe it's silly, but I really do believe that all the lawsuits that I see, I think they're preventable.
That's all of them? Well, okay, so when you say they're preventable, you mean that if the employee doesn't get sexually harassed or something.
That is one part of it, right? Like, somebody should know not to grab somebody's ass. Like, it should, like, hello, like, there's a recent one close to us in Tampa. $500,000 loss. $500,000. I mean, like, what would you do with $500,000? That's all I think. I'm like, what would you do with $500,000?
What happened? Can you talk about it?
Sure, yeah. It's on the EEOC website. They lost this, and it's I'm not going to name the group, But it's a Harley dealership group that is associated with another dealer.
Harley dealer in Tampa. We got to figure it out. All right.
And they have a great reputation, actually.
Great family.
They failed to promote a long-term employee to general manager because they told her she was too motherly. Like, you see this stuff and you think, what the
what the F?
Yeah, what the F? And, you know, so that's where I think that these things could be. What I don't understand, there's always another side to the story, right? And my experience is that my experience as the person who talks to the employer's attorney, right? I think it is natural to rationalize and defend your position, right? You don't want to be sued. So it's natural to do that. But what I learned is that there's always more to the story, right? Like, and it sounds
absolutely
when the manager is like, but this and this and this and this and this, and you're like, okay, fire him. You're right. You're right. But there's always more to the story. And I just believe in solutions rather than, I believe that there's solutions. Sometimes, somebody's going to do what they're going to do and they're going to go sue no matter what because, especially when the economy's bad. Lawsuit.
Well, on another show I did with
Marcia,
another HR person, she said that someone sued 5 employees in a row, five employers in a row.
I mean, I've never run into anybody who. I mean, I know that they're out there.
A friend of one of the friends of one of my sons says that his mother had lawsuits at 3 employees.
I mean, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Right? Personally, I haven't seen it. In my personal experience, right? I don't doubt it. But what I do know is that there are some. They shall not be named. Law firms, I'll call them, that pay people to go apply because, almost every employer does a background screen, right?
Yes.
So I know that you are acquainted with the Fair Credit Reporting Act because you have to pay attention to this in the front, in sales and F&I. But it also applies to employment background screens. Did you know that?
No.
Okay. So with employment background screens, it's very, very specific, just like every pain in the ass law is, right? And so if there's one little thing wrong with the process, even if there's no harm to whoever's doing the lawsuit, and they'll do a class action with this. Target has had these, and so they send people in waiting for something to be wrong, and then they sue them. It's awful. So it's just about processes, right? Like these processes. The biggest thing that I find when I go, when I'm working with a dealer client, the first thing I do is do an audit, right? I'll do a compliance audit. I go in, look at background. I look at everything. Background screen. It depends on how much they want me to look at, because I'll do like a mini wage and hour audit, look at their pay plans. I'm not a pay plan guru, certainly not with sales, right? I like pay plans. I like pay plans that can pass what I've heard called the neighbor rule, where you can show your pay plan to somebody not in this business and they can understand how you make your money. Right? Like, it's not so complicated that...
Well, not everybody in another industry knows what commissionable gross is, but I suppose if it could be explained...
Right. It should be understandable.
Right, but you're not more into like the structure of a pay plan, because a pay plan is often a job description. I want you to pay attention to these, sell so many of these, and get at least this kind of customer satisfaction, and make sure they're all within 10 miles of the dealership. That's an aspect you don't care about, but you do care about, for example, the legal aspect that got you that
the wages.
Hour.
I want to know that overtime is being paid correctly. I want to know, like, all of those things, right? The benefits, the ACA compliance. Lots of times I'll look at that 401k. I'll look at, and all the other compliance, your handbook, any trainings that you do or probably don't do. That's the first thing I do. And I always find stuff that could cost. I guess the thing about it is that these simple processes could cost the dealer money with penalties and fines, which I think is silly, right? When it's not hard to follow the process.
Right.
It isn't. We're a process-based business, right?
Right. Well, when it works, the stores that work is process-based. Yes. Well, I don't want to say we're a process-based business, because I think all businesses that do well and scale have to be process. Nordstrom's has their greeting. Ritz-Carlton says a certain thing when you walk up to the counter, and they have their already canned spiel about if you want to be on a ground floor and that there isn't any, or you want to be on a high floor and there isn't any. So we're all business. Insurance responds with a certain answer. Banks. So I think all businesses that are scaled are processed out.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.